Okay, recording started. When was Linux's 20th birthday, actually? Like, what date? I should know this, but I don't. I don't think they...
Wikipedia finding out right.
As it's 20 now, we know that. They made a video. I haven't watched it, but they made a video.
They did indeed. You know, the first result for searching Linux on Google is Ubuntu.
Yeah, I have noticed that. Like, if you search for Linux help, or if you start Googling for Linux...
I mean, just Linux alone is Ubuntu. Pretty surprising.
No, that's not surprising. It's like, it's become one Linux under the Ubuntu. That's what it's becoming. And I'm not an Ubuntuan. It'd be great if I was an Ubuntuan. Everybody knows I'm Linux. I'm not an Ubuntuan. I'm the other Linux. Anyways, what was the date?
Wikipedia is telling me all about the start of Unix.
Is it any wonder people are confused when it comes to Unix versus Linux when they're finding stuff like that? When they go into things. I mean, God.
Oh, 1991. 2 years before I was born.
But what date in 91? Doesn't say, does it? We know it's turned 20, so we know it's recent, but we don't know the date.
Okay, let's see this. Hold on. You're right, you need the date. Okay, start. Go start talking about something while I search it.
Okay. Obviously, I don't know what the weirdest April Fool's jokes were you saw. I kind of like the one PC Lynn did. They claimed that Microsoft had shut them down. It's like, what were the common April Fool's jokes ever then? Microsoft had shut them down. The world had come to an end. The Linux, they just decided to spend all the money they'd just been given to go out to buy a yacht or something. There were so many little things like that. Everybody's just having fun April Fools.
I love April Fools on the internet.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that because, like, when they do something like when they're a site that's based on a structure of like domain/main page on which all other things are strung off of, and they redirect that page to like an April Fool's page, it basically shuts down the site for a day. Unless you have very specific URLs bookmarked that are not based off of that common thread. And I have mixed feelings about when they do that, because then nobody can find anything on the site. It's just not there until they turn the redirect off. But it's only for a day. It's all fun. I do find it funny that, for all intents and purposes, a large chunk of the internet can just shut down for April Fools.
25th of August, 91.
So it turns 20 in August of this year. It's not 20 yet.
Well, I'm not sure if that's actually... This is the date that Linux sent the famous, I'm doing a free operating system, it's just a hobby, won't be big and professional like Genio. I think that's the start of it. Apparently not, because it's April.
Yeah, I'm like... well, not necessarily. You know, it is the 20th year, and you don't necessarily...
Okay, another thing that says Linux's birthday is considered to be August 25th. That's from Linux.com, but they're not reliable, right?
Well, okay, so it's 19 and a half, fixing to turn 20. You know, Linux is like the 3-year-old. A 3 and a half. A 3 and a half. I 4. It's like, are you telling me you've never seen a little kid do that? It's like, close enough, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I really think it is August 25th, and people are just all talking about celebrating it now.
Well, you know, it is Linux. What's wrong with a 6-month birthday party? You know, it's like on the first month of birthday, I took over the net. Oh, I feel like
I think that the Linux Foundation would get it right, but I mean the Linux.com site also is, I don't know. Alright, so what do we have first on this list?
Well,
Developers stands for developers to develop for Linux.
Yeah, well, and a lot of developers do. Linux is not the bastard stepchild it's made out to be by the general computer industry. There's a lot of companies that don't. There's a lot of companies that do.
Well, I mean, developers love Linux. Businesses don't.
Well, no, I know a lot of businesses that develop for Linux, but their business model is based on things that are providing a service that saves you time. They are literally the core of a software of a service business, where they don't care what OS you're on, especially people that are providing software as service tools.
Okay.
I
found out.
So
the Linux Foundation just released the video now, and the video is to advertise that they're going to have a Birthday of Linux celebration on August 17th to the whatever. So it is in August. It is August 25th.
So it's saying, hey, we're fixing to turn 20. Everybody come. It's like
yeah, they're just starting a little bit early. They're telling everyone about the birthday.
Well, if we live in a world where the president can say they're running for re-election earlier than any president ever has, who's to penalize Linux for saying 6 months ahead of time? I'm just saying, A little advance notice has become the American way, That's like... But anyways, getting back to the software developers. No, especially if you're doing anything in web design. Unix and Linux operating systems are supported most by, with the exception of Adobe, companies who the service they provide is designed to largely automate things that have to do with SEO and web design and content management. They strongly support Linux, and indirectly they also strongly support OS X, just because this is the more preferred file structure for this type of work. And there's a number of industries.
More than that, I mean.
Yeah, it's also the
how Unix works is big. How ports works and sockets and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, and these things. However, one thing I have noticed is every so often, a change in something or a needed update in these services inevitably breaks everything. Like certain parts of these things, like suddenly you can't talk to certain parts of Google because Google's changed things and they have to make an update and so on and so forth. And then the choice they have to make is, okay, do we wait till we have the update done for every platform, or do we quickly push out for one platform, then another, then another, then another? And if they are, which platform should be first, which platform should be second, which one should get the back burner? And a lot of times, some of them put Linux first because they're FLOSS and open source people and so on and so forth. But from a purely business standpoint, I can't decide if that does or doesn't make sense. And honestly, at the end of the day, what I always come down to is it a server-side service or is it a client-side service?
Well, even for client-side, I was thinking, obviously they would do it for Windows first because that's where the profit is, but thinking about that, especially if they're introducing a new service, your market isn't the general public. It's going to be the early adopters, and for the early adopters, you're going to want things like a post on Slashdot and Dig, and putting it out for Linux. That's what's going to get you it.
No, and that's the thing here, because a lot of them, even that get that they need to support Linux and OS X, and that because they are a service, they need to largely be cross-platform, and they need to largely work everywhere. I still find some of them still subscribe to the business model of, we're going to patch Windows first, then we'll patch OS X, then we'll get around to patching Linux. And that winds up with exactly what you're talking about. Then they get negative press, which actually can work in their best interest too. There's a company that did this not too long ago. I'm not going to name who they are. And Google actually slapped them with a manual penalty. But that was their business model, actually. They went out and they provided the worst possible customer service they possibly could, because they wanted everybody on the internet saying how bad they were. And everybody on the internet said how bad they were, but every single article out there that said these people suck, they don't do what they say, they don't do what was a link to them. So, of course, What happened? They wound up on page 1 of Google. And all these other articles complaining about them were like on page 3 or 4. Now, Google figured out what they were doing and slapped them with a manual slap, and now they're not even on page 10. Like, no. Boom.
I don't know. That's impressive. Doing that. That's impressive thinking right there.
No, because it got them so much PR that they were there.
I mean, I get PR, but I was thinking, do they just want, PR to get people to click on their link? But getting the top Google search result, that's something cool.
And that was how they did it. And that was fun. And I'm almost wondering if that might be some of the mentality being adapted here, because the reason that company got slapped is because they were just outright screwing people. In the case of something like this, where you focus on Windows first and kind of screw OS X and Linux and then screw Linux the most, these are the most boisterous people, like you're saying, articles on Slashdot and so on and so forth. And indirectly, them pissing us off might actually be pushing them higher on Google. And that may be what they're planning on when they screw us. But in the long term, is that the sounder business model? And I can't decide, because Google presence is everything. Especially when you're a service and you need people to be able to find you and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, keeping your core user base happy also. And at the end of the day, I can't decide which one's better there, because, obviously if they're doing a service, particularly companies doing SEO services or service for testing compatibility or things like that, that stuff is more and more becoming a service or cloud-based, and it needs to be platform agnostic, and it needs to work with everything, and it needs to work with the platform the people doing the work are using. And more on that stuff, because the internet doesn't run on Windows. The internet runs on Linux, and Unix is either being OS X or Linux. People are not, while there are plenty of web companies who are running all Windows, there's less and less of them every day. It's just that they don't want to deal with the conflict of, I made it in Windows, now it doesn't work over here.
Yeah.
So I can't decide. It's like, what do you think the ironclad rule should be for companies? Do you think they should do like what they're doing, where they cater by market share, or do you think they should actually go? Do you think in terms of those services they should, even though Linux is a smaller market share, it's potentially a higher percentage of their users? Unfortunately, good metrics on that don't exist.
You talk about when normal people who aren't geeks like us get a cell phone, they generally ask a geek. I get asked all the time about what kind of computer should I buy or what kind of phone should I buy, and
that more than anything, in my opinion, is what killed Vista. Because we didn't like it. It didn't matter that they would like it. We didn't like it.
Exactly. And so when people, so even though it seems like a smaller market share, marketing something to geeks first can get it out to everyone else faster than they ever could. Because, people listen to, their local, geek a lot more than a commercial.
True.
So there is that, but there also is that, how many people are using this operating system. That they both matter, and it definitely should be done on a case-by-case basis. For server stuff, you do have obvious rules, but for stuff like games, I don't know. Linux users will pay more for games. There's more people on Windows that want to play games. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a balance. At the end of the day,
they should make a bigger effort to do things cross-platform, but don't we all?
Well, and honestly, I'm not going to name the company that actually brought this up and saying, because it's actually one of the services I use that is going through this thing. They're like, a number of us are complaining in their forums right now, and they're going, okay, we know what we did. We've pushed it out for Windows. We're pushing it out for OS X this week, and Linux is coming soon. We promise. But it's very clear their priority was on fixing Windows, and they've actually written their software entirely in Java. So it's one of those things. I'm like, okay, why didn't you just get the push ready for everybody so that it would just go out at once, rather than this one, this one?
Are they doing the exact same version?
It's the same version, but they've made some optimization tweaks. So they are slightly different versions.
Because I know even Java, with all its work for cross-platform, is not perfectly cross-platform.
No, and that is one of the things I like about this particular software. They went in there, and rather than just pushing a blanket SOT, they did take the time to also do some per OS tweaks to fully optimize. But as a result of those fully optimized tweaks, you know, they now have to patch this manually over here, manually over here, they have to do it 3 times, which it's like, then they're like, which one gets first?
Why can't we have a fully cross-platform language and library?
You know, you say that, but do you really want it to be so easy to make malware that just goes everywhere? Do you really want that world? We all want that world for the good software, but that means the bad software gets it too. But no, they promise. But like Windows is Windows was patched within 5 days. They broke it on the 22nd of last month. You know, we're on the 7th. So basically, for almost 2 weeks now, chunks of it don't work.
You know, it's natural for people to go where the money is. There's nothing, you know, wrong with that. That's capitalism. You know, it's. I mean, the thing about it is, you know, you think about it. I'm a business, and I'm trying to sell this new software I made. I'm going to think to go to Windows first, even if going to Linux is better because of all the Slashdot articles and how the geeks tell them. That's a much more abstract thought for people to make. It seems
well, and at the end of the day, we're talking about just the marketing capability of Slashdot. There's actually 3 factors you should consider here. You should consider the geek cred you'd get for going for Linux. You should consider the market share breakup, which of course Windows is larger. And the third factor you should consider, which almost no one does, is where is my target user? Because if there's 8 times or 10 times or 100 times as many users on platform A, but 85% of who my potential customers are using platform XYZ, whatever it is, even if it's an order of magnitude smaller, that's what I want to target because that's where my money is.
That's true, but I mean, I'm just saying that that's a much harder thought to make, and that's a harder strategy. Like, there's a lot of companies, and I'm sure you've seen commercials like this, where they specifically try to target for geeks and get geek cred, and a lot of times they fail. Well, no,
that's the thing, and those are the people focusing on like what you.
It's not really something you can easily just target directly for. You generally do it by being something that's actually cool.
No, we'll see, but that's the thing. There's so many people who that's what they do. They come in and they're like, oh, we want to target the Slashdot people, and what's like because they sell stuff for us. But it's very obvious that's what they're doing. They're coming in and just going, hey, come work for us for free. Come do our job for us. We want you to. And they're not actually providing anything we want. If you want that social, and basically it is a social media aspect. If you want that, like you're saying, you have to be providing something cool that makes our life easier. The easiest way to get a vote out of people like us is to come in and make something that takes us 20 hours to do manually, take 1. Do that, and we are in love with you. We're like, yay, I can charge my client for 20 hours and only have to work 1. I'm so fucking happy. It's worth money to me. It's worth everything. You have. Thank you. I can go out and play. I can go out and play now instead of sit at the terminal all day. Thank you. That's what you have to do. If you're doing anything less than that, you're not. We're not happy. You haven't made our life easier. You've created one more thing that our clients are going to want us to buy that doesn't help.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, you can get a Slashdot article just on something being cool. It doesn't have to be, you know.
Well, no, I'm talking about the usability. Yes, there's also the cool. But do me a favor, James. Define cool.
Controlling something weird with a remote control, getting your your Android phone to solve a Rubik's Cube using Legos for arms, like that one YouTube video. That's cool.
But did you know that was cool before it went viral? Would you have thought of that?
I would have thought it was cool if I saw that, yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Before it went viral, I would have thought that was very cool. You know the Minecraft computer thing? I saw that before it had a lot of views, and that's really cool. That's one of the coolest things that I've ever seen.
Okay. But does anybody else?
I mean, there's stuff like that. You know, I tend to like things less. They're viral, and that's, yeah.
No, that's the other thing. You know, it's just like I don't know if you're too young to remember All Your Base or Belong to Us, but that was the thing.
That was in a lot of games I made. It was in Age of Mythology. I know that's not where it started, but they had one of the cheats was All Your Base or Belong to Us, and you would make this super bear that kills everything. It was really fun.
Yeah, well, no, because like it's back from this old, I want to say Genesis or Nintendo game. I can't even remember what the game was.
It was some space game.
Yeah, but it was translated so horribly, and somebody just got bored one day and ripped it off, and made video, and it was one of the. This was the underground thing of the geek people back in the late '90s, early aughts. But as soon as it went viral, as soon as it went everywhere, it was one of those. Then everybody else started coming into All Your Base, and it was just like, who are you people? What? You don't even know what All Your Base. Okay, we're leaving.
That happens. I mean, largely, all our new culture is from the geeks. Everyone nowadays uses win and fail and stuff like that, and that's.
Well, no, and that's the thing. By the time it makes sense to marketing people who are trying to market like that, they're using that stuff. They're like, oh, this is big, it's huge, it's on. And by then, we've all moved on. Because it's not the counterculture anymore. We're like, nah, we're over here now. It's like, oh, look at the poser. Oh, yay, yay.
A lot of things, you don't have to be super cool. Like, Google does a lot of things that are cool. Gmail Motion. It was. You like that segue, by the way. Their next thing.
Yeah.
It was a cool thing. That thing. Geeks like that. They share it. They think it's funny. Because it is a geeky thing that gets people to like that. So stuff like that. Can be geeky little publicity stunts like that. Those can get you on Slashdot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just using Slashdot.
Well, no, I know there are other sites, but at the end of the day, the real key to that factor is you're not copying something or taking advantage of a social upstream. You're actually just creating something unique and new and hoping it catches on.
Yeah.
Which is a risk. Whenever
usability is definitely the best.